Welcome to The Ladder, a weekly dose of personal development ideas to help spark your imagination, increase your leadership skills, and bring more success into your life. And now, here's your host, James Ferris.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Ladder Podcast. I'm your host, James Ferris, and the purpose of this podcast is to give you little tidbits of information that can help you ascend the proverbial ladder of success. So, today, let's talk very briefly about the all or nothing mentality. Maybe you're guilty of this. I know a lot of people who kind of fit this bill, and there was a point in my life where I was very much like this. And it was basically it was all or nothing. That's, as I said, all or nothing. So many people, I think, stifle their growth and stifle their success by adopting and keeping that mentality. It's either all or nothing. Another way of looking at it is a perfectionist mentality, right? So as a martial arts instructor, I get students to come in frequently, and that's one of the first things they tell me as soon as they start to experience any frustration, or their child starts to experience some frustration, is that, she's having a hard time because she's such a perfectionist. And that's the reason why they stop succeeding in our program, and a lot of times they drop out of the program because having that kind of a mindset is in many ways is detrimental to that person's success. So if you have a perfectionist mindset, that's fine as long as you're doing it step by step and in slow increments, not expecting it to be perfect the very first time that you do something. Because I'm here to tell you that there's very few things you're ever going to do in life that are perfect the first time you try them. And stop to think about that for a second. What if every time you did something or you tried to do it, it started out as being perfect right off the bat, the very first time you tried it? Every video game you sat down to play, you were perfect at every single level, and you went from start to finish all the way through the entire video game without any problems whatsoever. Because you're a quote-unquote perfectionist, right? It's all or nothing. I've got to do this, I've got to have it all, or I can't have anything. And imagine doing that in school. Every homework assignment you undertook, you got an A+, and you got straight A's all the way through school. Well, that's really not going to happen. You know, you might be able to do it for a short period of time, and maybe some people can do that. I don't know. Maybe some people can go through school and have nothing less than a straight A. But I think that all that does for us is to create a lot of unnecessary frustrations that we really don't need to have, because we've got to understand that things are not going to be perfect, and nor do they need to be. Things don't need to be perfect before you do anything. Some people, they look at it like this, and they've got to get all their quote-unquote ducks in a row, right, before they can start out on things. And I have friends, I have family members that have thought that way, and they've got to wait until they get all their ducks in a row, and they've got to wait until they've got all the answers to everything, and they have never pulled the trigger. I, on the other hand, pull the trigger and then direct the bullet as it leaves the gun, right? It's what I call getting the car moving and steering it later. And I have learned to change my thought processes over the years, because there was a time in my life, in my youth, where I wouldn't do something until everything was in line, and very few things got done as a result, because very few things ever get figured out from the start. You have to figure them out as you go, just like driving a car, right? And it's the same way with anything else you try to do. You're trying to lose weight, you're on a diet, and you expect to lose a certain amount of pounds by a certain amount of time, and as you start to move down that road, you start stepping on the scale and you don't see the results. And there are a lot of different reasons for that. Age is one of those reasons. Some cases your heredity might play a factor. Your genes, things that are beyond our control sometimes. It could be hormonal. You have some hormonal deficiencies. That could be a part of the reason why you're not seeing the results. Or maybe you're not following the plan enough or doing enough to see the results. Maybe you're looking for some kind of a way to shortcut that system, and when the diet tells you not to eat this particular kind of food, you find a way to justify eating that or something like that, and therefore you're sabotaging your success a little bit. But anyway, I'm not really talking about going on a diet. I'm talking about just general success. Understand this, that slow and steady always wins the race. That is what we were taught through the story of the tortoise and the hare. The tortoise and the hare are racing, and of course the hare, the rabbit, is 15, 20 times faster than the tortoise, the turtle is, and so he takes off in a mad dash, and he gets way up in front of it, and then realizes, well, I don't have to do much right now because I'm so far ahead of this guy that I can just go ahead and lay down and take a little nap here. And when he does that, as he's napping, the tortoise then slowly passes him by and crosses the finish line by the time the hare or the rabbit wakes up. So the rabbit wakes up, looks around, dashes to the finish line, only to realize that he's been beaten by this slow turtle that kept it a slow and steady pace. And that's what we have to learn to do as human beings. In anything and everything you're doing, try not to get suckered in by these short-term, get-rich-quick schemes. And when I say get-rich-quick scheme, it's the same thing in weight loss. Lose 50 pounds in 30 days or your money back, that kind of thing. That's another get-rich-quick scheme. Get thin quick. Get smart quick. Get martial arts rank quick. Whatever it is. Stop looking for the get-rich-quick schemes of the world and start remembering that slow and steady wins the race. It's consistency, right? So let me ask you a question. How far and how long can you run full out? How far and long do you think you could run full out? And I don't mean at a top or a fast speed. I mean at your very top speed, at blistering speed where you just took off from your porch and ran in a straight line for as long and fast as you possibly could go, and with holding nothing back. And this is an all or nothing mentality kind of thing. I mean everything you've got. How long and how far do you think you could make it? Well, I can tell you with near certainty that it would be a very short period of time, very short length of time for you to be able to do that. Some people less than a mile, but most people less than 2 miles, or certainly less than 5 miles for even those who are in the best shape of their lives, right? Look at a 100-yard dash sprinter in the Olympics when they go full out. Look at how much they're putting forth and the effort they're putting into that, and when they get to that finish line, how exhausted and drained they are. So the message there is if you go full out for so long, eventually you're going to lose the ability to take another step, and you are going to fall and tumble, and you're probably going to stay down for a while. But if you just get out and find a steady pace that you can keep, that is not super taxing on your body, but it's not too easy as well. You can probably double, triple, or quadruple the distance you can run just by finding a pace that is comfortable enough for you, but you can do little bursts and spurts once in a while, but the idea is just to continue to be consistent in your steps, one foot in front of the other. Even if you're running and then you have to slow down and resort to walking for a little while until you can catch your breath. See, this is the wisdom of life right here. So the last thing we want to do, though, is to completely come to a stop and take a break, right? You can slow down, but then you can start speeding up a little bit, and when you get your proverbial second wind, and there's third and fourth winds as well. Ask anybody who runs in a marathon. It's the same thing. Try not to visualize your life as an all or nothing thing, right? Keep this in mind. Inch by inch, it's a cinch. Yard by yard, it's hard. So if you're the kind of person who's got an all or nothing mentality, I can 100% assure you're dealing with a lot of extra stress and frustrations than somebody who's just doing something consistently week in, week out, or day in, day out is doing. Instead of trying to make it all happen right now, push for certain things. You have little times in your life where you go, you give it a little burst and you push ahead a little bit more. Then that might be the last 20 yards of that 100-yard dash or something. And then when you cross the finish line, you slow down. You don't just come to an abrupt stop. You slow down, catch your breath, and then continue moving again, right? Maybe that would be setting the next goal to run the next marathon, or just getting back on the treadmill in the next morning, and then making sure you're not taking a week off because you finished this race. So it's the same thing in life, guys. If you want to ascend the ladder, just remember that the old adages hold true, and that is that slow and steady wins the race, and inch by inch, it's a cinch. Yard by yard, it's hard. That's my message for you today. Hope you got something out of this. And if you're currently in the mindset of it's all or nothing, relax. Take a moment, take a deep breath, and really contemplate what it is you're doing, and back it off a little bit, right? Instead of going to the gym 6 days per week, if you're just starting to go to the gym, don't try to jump in and go 6 days a week. twice a week is good in the beginning. Get used to it. And then you can start alternating by adding a third day in every other week until you're that's easy for you and you know it's consistently possible for you to keep that pace up. Then you can think about adding a fourth day in here and there, and on certain times where you really want to shock your system, you do go to 5 and 6, 7 days per week, but then you go and back it back down to the 2 or 3 days per week. Just stay consistent and you'll see better results than trying to do it all at once. All right? Have a fantastic weekend and keep climbing that ladder.